Skull Rock Podcast is brought to you by the generosity of the following companies. The Old Mill Press, publishing beautifully crafted books that illuminate our world. To learn more, visit theoldmillpress.com. And by listeners like you.
Hey, this is artist Sue Blanchard, and you're listening to the Skull Rock Podcast.
Aye, ladies, remember this as the day you sailed with the Skull Rock Podcast. Proceed at your own risk and mark well me words, ladies. Dead men tell no tale.
Welcome to Skull Rock Podcast, the show about all things Disney and pop culture. Every week, we take you behind the scenes of some of your favorite Disney films, theme park attractions, performances, books, music, as well as what's streaming, what's in theaters, and what is happening in this universe of entertainment. I'm Aljon Go, musician and longtime Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, and pop culturist. And you can email me, Aljon, A-L-J-O-N, at skullrockpodcast.com.
And I'm Dave Bossert, artist, filmmaker, Disney historian, author, and sometime loiterer. Welcome to the Skull Rock Podcast. If you love Disney and pop culture, please subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. You can also like and follow us on Facebook, X, Blue Sky, Instagram, LinkedIn, and on our very own Skull Rock YouTube channel. You can also email me at dave@skullrockpodcast.com. Aljon, what a week it has been.
Yeah.
It really has been a crazy week. I must let our audience know my mother passed away at the ripe old age of 94.
Oh, man.
She had a great life. She was completely with it right until the end. I spoke to her the morning that she passed away. She was sharp as a tack, but, her heart and her kidneys were just giving out.
I am so sorry to hear that, Dave. My condolences. I know that, she meant a lot, of course, to a lot of people. And having lived a long life, it touched so many people, she will be missed.
Absolutely. And I've talked about her and I posted about her on my social media channels over the years. So that happened, and then I had an obligation in Miami. So I flew to Miami on Monday and came back Wednesday morning.
Wow.
Talk about a slingshot trip.
Goodness me. Wow. Yeah. So I hope Miami was okay for you. I mean, it's probably super hot over there.
Oh, it was hot and muggy. I mean, my gosh, the humidity was insane.
Oh,
wow. July in Miami.
Yeah.
It's like a sauna.
Yeah.
But I was down there doing something very cool related to the Destino project.
Cool.
So that was fun. Got back and, it's just been a crazy time. So, I want our listeners to know I will not be here next week. Mm-hmm. Aljon is going to take the reins and just, go to town on me.
Yeah, no. I do have Virtual Dave queued up just in case. And, I have to tell our listeners that, of course, our hearts are with your family and thoughts, but, Virtual Dave is at the ready at a moment's notice. So check this out.
Yes, plenty of brie and wine. There we go. I love that, Okay. Nobody will know the difference.
No. You'll just, we got canned Dave. It's going to be okay. Now,
right.
Honestly, it will be
canned
missed.
Dave is okay. That's it.
Well, we have some news that we're going to get into in just a little bit. And of course, wow, it's still July, which means it's Kevin Lima month continuing. That is awesome, man. We're going in deep with Kevin's.
We really are. I mean,
career.
Listen, it is Kevin Lima month here at the Skull Rock Podcast. We are going to be dropping part 5 of our interview.
Ooh.
We've just been getting tremendous feedback from our listeners. I've been getting notes on social media.
Yeah.
Everybody is thoroughly enjoying our interview with Kevin, and I'm glad about that. I mean, we are here to do these in-depth interviews with our guests. So we have that coming up. But first, we've got our Skull Rock Poet Laureate, Matt Mason reading another poem celebrating the 70th anniversary of the opening of Disneyland. And this is a poem from his book, At the Corner of Fantasy and Maine, Disneyland, Midlife, and Churros.
He's a poet.
Poet. I just never took you for a poet before.
A poet?
Just so you know, since you're new here, I'm a poet, a street poet.
Celebrate Disneyland's 70th anniversary with Skull Rock Podcast's Poet Laureate Matt Mason.
I've got a poem that goes all the way to the beginning, to 1955. I watched the video on YouTube of the whole opening special that was broadcast live, and wrote a bunch of poems, but I think this is the only one that made it into the book. It's called Tomorrowland, 1955. And it starts with two quotes. The first one is from Walt Disney himself, his dedication to Tomorrowland, July 17th, 1955, where he said, "A vista into a world of wondrous ideas, signifying man's achievements, a step into the future with predictions of constructed things to come." And the second quote is from the book Walt's Utopia, Disneyland and American Myth-Making by Priscilla Hobbs, where she lays out, in its original design, Tomorrowland's setting was 1986, chosen because it was the next return for Halley's Comet. The world of 1986, as shown on black and white TVs, is all rocket ships and small cars where Sammy Davis Jr. can rear-end Sinatra, a place where atomic energy metaphor mousetraps spray ping-pong balls willy-nilly. Walt starts to talk, then stops, confused, as a voice in his ear tells him not yet, and Walt, broadcasts live, waits. Don't sweat it, boys. Take it from someone who graduated high school in 1986. You, everything, nailed it.
Once again, a wonderful poem by Matt Mason from his Disneyland poetry book, At the Corner of Fantasy and Maine, Disneyland, Midlife, and Churros. And it's available, by the way, from the Old Mill Press. It's an award-winning book of poetry. If you go to theoldmillpress.com, you can get a signed copy by Matt Mason, who is the official Skull Rock Podcast Poet Laureate. Thank you, Matt.
Before I was just the Nebraska State poet, but now I'm the Poet Laureate for the podcast. So thank you, Dave. Thank you, Aljon.
There you go. All right, we'll see you next week.
Oh, I love it. I love the poetry. It's wonderful. And this week being the 70th anniversary of Disneyland, my love is at a fever pitch. We're going through the Disney shop and going, man, I wish we were there because we are going to go buck wild crazy on some merchandise this week.
I have no doubt, and, I will say, though, Aljon, I just didn't get the sense that there was a huge celebration last week.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird.
It wasn't. I didn't see advertising saturated on the media platforms out here in Los Angeles. It just seemed like they did something down at Disneyland that was probably big for Disneyland, but it just didn't really feel like there was a lot of hoopla in the news.
I don't know. You might be right on that. I know that Disney Plus is celebrating with there's a big Disneyland 70th tile that has a bunch of great attractions and behind the scenes. So they aggregated a bunch of really cool park content for me to enjoy a lot of the stuff I've already seen. But it's really cool how they've done that. And then, of course, you had Bob Iger open up the park. Right. On the day, which was really cool, and he kind of paraphrased Walt's opening statement, which is great. I mean, you can't touch Walt's statement. That is just the best opening line ever. and it's just kind of burned and ingrained. We'll talk about Walt later, but we'll talk about
Oh yeah,
that.
we're going to talk.
We're going to talk
Walt.
about it. Yeah, but spoiler. But I think it was good. I mean, I don't know what expectation is. I thought that you're right though. I would have thought that they would have had more local media, and then Good Morning America would have done a live there or whatever, and I didn't see that. And if it happened, it went over me. Like it totally went over me if that happened.
It went over me too. And I am very much aware of what's going on out in the world. I consume a lot of content. Mm-hmm. I mean, I am not only, reading, online articles, news articles, all that kind of stuff, watching the news, out and about. And there's certain times where there's just saturation in the media where you can't help not see anything, Mm-hmm. I mean, you just can't help it. You just exposed to so much. I just didn't get that sense with the 70th anniversary of Disneyland.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it now, and there is some stuff that went over the AP Newswire a couple days ago. There's some newspaper coverage. There's some traditional media coverage of it, but I mean, I would have thought for sure there would be something more. But what's really interesting to me is I look up Disneyland 70th anniversary. One of the first news pieces that pop up are CBS News, as they have this kind of a introspective look at the park turning 70, and that goes over ABC. Like, where's ABC's coverage, gang? Where is it? Right. ABC, an arm of the Disney company, and the first thing that pops up on my feed is CBS. Like, what is wrong here?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
It is. But anyway, we're celebrating it here, and we're happy to have Matt give us these readings this month. It's just really, really cool. But now we go from Matt, and then now...
Skull Rock Podcast answers your email.
You alluded to some email and notes and comments, Dave. We have a few.
Darlie Brewster, who we've had as a guest, said quite the amazing career about Kevin Lima's, episode part 4, episode 4 of our interview with him. Yeah. Eric from Hawaii, I've said this every week, but again, these Kevin Lima interviews are incredible. His stories and life experience just blows me away. The combination of Bossert and Lima makes the podcast a must hear. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Pam says, I did so enjoy Kevin talking about working on live action, and he filmed in Toronto as well. I wish I knew he was up here directing the Eloise films. Stan says, these are great. Love hearing about his career and how one thing leads to another. So that's the kind of feedback we're getting, Aljon. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
I love it. It's so good. Hey, by the way, I have a little email here. I don't know if we'll just go ahead and read it. How about that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, by the way, hearing my dad say that he designed the Keebler elves has kind of perked my curiosity. This is from Tack Kurtz, as he never heard that before. Hey, this is new. And it really didn't look like his work, so I researched it, and sure, something made perfect sense. When I was a kid, my dad was working on something at a film festival and brought back an artist that worked with my dad. My dad was also a fan of the children's book Jolly Roger Bradfield, and we had his books, The Flying Hockey Stick and Giants, come in all sizes. And Roger drew for me a large poster board, personalized illustration to my good buddy Talk. How about that? That's from Talk Kurtz.
Well, that cool. It must be related to Bob Kurtz.
That's it. That's his son. Yeah, that's his son.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, and it was interesting that the Keebler Elves commercials kind of, jumped around a little bit between boutique studios here in Los Angeles.
Oh, very cool.
So I'm sure Bob Kurtz did some. Cornell Abood at the time did some of them. I think Duck Studios did some. So it was kind of jumping around, as did occasionally the Kellogg's commercials.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. He goes further saying, thank you for making that. I'll always be happy to hear this. Mention to my father. I'm named after He, and born born after my dad started work on the Aljon show. I was a child voice talent at the film festivals, and my dad was starting his own company prior to Kurtz and Friends with my mom. Together, they rented a room in an old building in downtown L.A. Her name was Glenna.
Wow, that is amazing.
That is really cool.
It's interesting. He was one of my teachers at Cal Arts.
Wow, yeah. You mentioned that before.
He had a very long, illustrious career at the Disney studios.
Yeah, it's really cool. So I'll have to write him back, but I CC'd you on the email because he only I guess he just messaged me about it. So that's cool. Really cool. He did that, but really cool nonetheless. It's always great to see and hear the feedback from the people that listen. You never know what we're going to get on a weekly basis here on the show, and it's great to get that feedback. What's
nice is that it's increasing. Yeah. We continue to get more comments from our listeners, and we love that. I want to say that to our listeners. We love hearing from you, so write to us.
Well, this is why we do it. We do it for our listeners, and we also do it to just document all of the great stories of these filmmakers throughout the years. And there's got to be a nice record of it. Now I'm so glad we're able to tell the story of these wonderful filmmakers. And gang, we would love to hear from you. Feel free to send us a note. Feel free to send us a voicemail. It's very easy. If you just click on our show notes, just send it via Spotify. We'd love to hear your actual voice. Or you can also leave a comment on our YouTube page. We would certainly appreciate that.
And speaking of YouTube, Aljon, I wonder if our listeners would like to see us on YouTube.
Well, it's funny. We actually posed that question to our Patreon, and they would. So maybe we ought to start in a few months, in a few weeks, when things kind of normalize here.
Yeah, maybe we can plan on it for the fall or something like that. We'll start to do audio and video of some of our shows, or maybe all of our shows going forward.
Well, why not?
We've got to talk about that. There's a lot of logistics involved, and not only that, if we're going to put up some video of past interviews, which I'd like to do, we have to go back to those guests and make sure they're okay with it.
Yeah, 100%. I think they would be, and we can certainly put it up on YouTube in a special edition. So, but hey, you know what? Why don't you answer the question out there, fans? If you'd like to see more video, feel free to leave us a comment on this, and we will discuss it and maybe have some in a future episode.
Yeah, and by the way, the audio will not go away. We're still going to have audio, but we will have video. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say. I just spoiled it there, Dave.
All right, go for it. Let's hear it.
Hey, listen, Dave. I found the film projector.
Awesome.
It is time for our picks of the week, Dave. And what have you been checking out this week?
Well, Aljon, I did go see Superman in IMAX.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to say I liked it, but I was a bit disappointed.
Oh, no.
So the synopsis is when Superman gets drawn into conflicts at home and abroad, his actions are questioned, giving tech billionaire Lex Luthor the opportunity to get the Man of Steel out of the way for good. Will intrepid reporter Lois Lane and Superman's four-legged companion Krypto be able to help him before it's too late? I guess I must have had higher expectations. I was a little disappointed in this film, partly because there are so many characters. Mm-hmm. They've got these Justice League characters. They're being referred to as the Justice Gang, which is the Green Lantern, and
Hawk Girl.
What's that?
There's Hawk Girl, Green Lantern.
Yeah, Hawk Girl, Green Lantern, and who's the other guy?
Mr. Terrific, right?
Yeah, Mr. Terrific, exactly.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Look, for me, it just felt it felt very busy and a little bit confusing with all the different characters that were in it. It was okay. It wasn't great for me. Rotten Tomato gives it 83%, IMDb 7.6 out of 10, and Fandango gives it 92%. 89% of people who went to the movie liked it. So I will say one thing that I think is important. The animation was much better in this DC film than any of the previous DC films. And I all I can say is I have to attribute that to James Gunn being involved, because if you look at the Marvel superhero movies, and James Gunn did his Guardians of the Galaxy films over at Marvel, the animation in the Marvel films is always really well done. I thought that this film, the animation was superb compared to the previous films, especially Aquaman, which was absolutely awful from an animation standpoint. So from my from my vantage point, I liked it, but it wasn't great for me. Okay.
It's hard to top Richard Donner, right? I mean, when you think about it, Superman 1 and Superman 2, in my opinion, are some of the most revered superhero movies of all time.
Yeah. So, no, and I get that. I think the casting was well done with David Cornsweet.
Cornsweet, I guess.
Cornsweet.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Sweet sweat.
I wasn't convinced with Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. I think that there might have been better choices out there. Nathan Fillion as the Green Lantern was an interesting choice, and I hated his haircut.
It's
so
the
if
best.
You go see the movie, if you go see the movie, you know what I'm talking about.
It's comic accurate because Guy Gardner's an a-hole, so he played it well, in my opinion. But I have yet to see the whole film, so I've just seen clips. So again, from my vantage point, I just felt that they grounded Superman too much as a human. Getting hurt and things like that. I was always under the impression from my, days of seeing Superman comics and all of that it was really just kryptonite was his only, the only thing that could harm him. Yeah. So anyway, that's my assessment of the film, but go out and see it. And if you can, see it in IMAX because it's a great experience. There you go.
On the smaller screen, Aljon, I didn't watch a lot this week, but I did watch several episodes of a show on Netflix called Untamed, starring Chris Bana. Excuse me. Chris Bana's. No, starring Eric Bana.
Starring our very own
I know
podcaster.
Yeah, I'm elevating Chris Banas into the movie stardom.
There you go.
Eric Bana
yeah.
plays Kyle Turner. And the synopsis is, in the vast expanse of Yosemite National Park, a woman's death draws a federal agent into lawless terrain where nature obeys no rules but its own. This stars Sam Neill, Rosemarie DeWitt, Lily Santiago, and Wilson Bethel. I actually enjoyed the first couple episodes, even though they're a little bit slow. But the cinematography is wonderful. You're in Yosemite, so there's these incredible vistas. And so I'm going to continue watching season 1. But this is on Netflix. IMDb gives a 7.3 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gives a 79%. And 63% like this TV show. So that's Untamed on Netflix. And then for whatever reason, my daughter likes this show, The Good Ship Murder. Former police detective Jack Grayling, now pursuing his dream of becoming a cabaret singer on a luxury Mediterranean cruise ship, investigates a series of murders on board with the help of the ship's first officer, Kate Woods. This is like The Love Boat and pick a a crime show and merge them together. Nice. Shane Ward plays Jack Grayling. Catherine Tinsley plays Kate. And there's a series of guest actors on each episode, depending on what's going on. You can see this on Amazon Prime and on BritBox. And also on the Roku channel. Yeah. I'm having trouble talking this week.
It's all right.
So, but it's a little bit schmaltzy because at the end of every episode, the Shane Ward, who plays the detective Jack Grayling, sings a song in cabaret style.
Of course.
So it's kind of like it's like a murder. A murder happens, musical. Gets solved, and then you have a lounge lizard act.
Of course, of course. Hey, by the way, gang, this is the first time Schmaltzy has been on a podcast. And that's Dave. That's Dave's New York roots coming right out.
There you go. Anyway, that's what I've been watching. Aljon, what have you been watching?
Well, not a whole lot, Dave, but I can tell you that this film is not Schmaltzy. It's called What's Inside. What's Inside is about a group of friends gather for a pre-wedding party and descends into an existential nightmare when an estranged friend arrives from a mysterious game or with a mysterious game that awakens long-hidden secrets, desires, and grudges. This film is on Netflix, and it's a dark comedy whodunit. And it's insane. It's very original. Think about this, Dave. You go to, your reunion, and maybe 10 of you show up, and this guy comes in with a suitcase, decides that this is going to be a great party game. A bunch of friends and I have been working on this project, and I'm kind of a tech nerd, so I'm going to go ahead and hook up these electrodes to your brain, and then something fun's going to happen. Let's see what happens. You want to try it? And then they get around and they get high, and then they turn on the machine, and they literally do a Freaky Friday, and they swap their essence, swaps bodies. So the jock is now inside the stoner, and the stoner's inside the brainiac, and then the prom queen gets switched with a cheerleader, and then the nerd girl gets switched with the girl that's kind of a freak or whatever. So all these kind of personalities switch, and then someone dies, and then now I can't switch back to my body. So it's a really kind of, existential, weird analysis of things and kind of pain and issues that happen, when you're in high school and you move on, past college, and how you've made changes in your life, or did you make changes in your life, or are you living up to the expectations, or is that what you're really doing? I mean, is it all a facade? And then your house of cards comes tumbling down. Maybe I could take this opportunity to live the life I really want to live and start over. And so it's dark comedy. It's funny in parts. It's a little bit difficult because it is a cast of maybe, it starts out with a cast of 8 people. And as it kind of, these different things kind of happen and permutations happen with the different rounds of them changing their personalities, it kind of gets a little lost if you're not paying attention. But the good thing is they're wearing like their Polaroids of their faces of what personality is in that body at that point. So you can kind of see, who it is. Yeah. But it's different and it's original, and kudos for that, because I haven't seen something original like that in a long time. So
well, and the original stuff is becoming few and far between. Even things that people call original are regurgitations of other stuff. Yeah, Hollywood is doing right now is rebooting and redoing stuff that had been done in the past. It's really getting tiresome.
It is.
And by the way, that's why a lot of people are going off, watching original content from creators on YouTube and places like that.
100%. Well, I think this has that vibe. I mean, Greg Hardin, who is the director, you saw Cowboy Bebop on Netflix and Floating, those different things. He's a younger director, which is really cool. So I appreciate that. It was written by him as well. And then I believe it was also produced by Coleman Domingo, who's executive producer. He was in Fear the Walking Dead along with Jason Baum, who's done a lot of independent stuff. And it also stars, one of the other co-stars of the Fear the Walking Dead, Alicia Denham, Carey, who starred with Coleman Domingo, and she's a great actress. So I think, thumbs up for the casting, thumbs up for the directing, and go out of your way and check it out if you want to see something kind of fresh, in my opinion. I also saw another one of, the type of documentary series that I watch is American Murder on Netflix. The story of Gabby Petito. Okay, so
all you watch is murder and mayhem.
I watch murder, mayhem, and horror. Yes, it's sprinkled with a little pixie dust every now and again, Dave. So if you check out, this is very captivating. It's a 3-part series, mini series on Netflix. And of course, if you know about this, it's a couple's young cross-country journey, documenting her beginning of her social media channel. Gabby was, I guess, during the pandemic, wanting to experiment and become a van life kind of blogger and vlogger. You know about this van life situation, Dave? People sell everything they have and they live out of a van,
yes,
and then they travel, right?
So they get these Sprinter vans that are converted into campers, and that's all they have, and they just travel the country.
And that's exactly it. And then, of course, she's in an supposedly abusive relationship, and then she never makes it back home. There is a lot of shrouded mystery over what happened, and of course, it made headlines across the United States, across the world, really. And my situation is, we don't hear a lot about the people that disappear or go disappearing, but because of the viral nature of this, it gained media attention. And I think that gets lost with a lot of people. A lot of people are quick to point out the race card or whatever the case is. And it's like, that's not really the point here. The point here is that because she was vlogging and putting things that went viral on YouTube, it just caught fire and captivated a bunch of people, including, major news outlets. So of course this thing kind of happened. So I don't understand, why people, wanted to kind of push the other narrative when clearly it was, kind of all based on a YouTuber. But anyway, it's a very sad story. So, once again, once of those documentaries, it's very interesting how those things kind of play out. It's very sad. Another thing that's great is I'm getting the kids into Star Wars, as I've mentioned in weeks past. And so now they're taking in Lego Star Wars Droid Tales. And I have to say that this was made back in 2015. And it's a retelling of the Star Wars saga prior to the sequels with Rey and gang. So this is the initial 6 films retold by C-3PO Anthony Daniels, the original voice actor, the original actor who played C-3PO, in a very fun and easy way for kids to digest. They're like 20-minute long episodes, and it's fun. It's irreverent as Lego Star Wars is, and it's very interesting how they deal with things like Qui-Gon Jinn being cut by Darth Maul. They completely the violent portions of the Star Wars saga have been toned down, but it doesn't take away from the fun. So and it's fun for me to kind of watch because it's like watching Star Wars under a whole new lens, something my kids enjoy. So it's really fun. So check it out. It's if you haven't seen it.
Anthony Daniels is a really nice guy. I split an office with him for a couple of weeks.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, before the pandemic, because he's also he's a visiting scholar at Carnegie Mellon, as I am, and so we happened to be there at the same time, and we split an office, and he was just a terrific individual.
He seems like it. And that's awesome. My wife and I, used to attend Star Wars weekends religiously, prior to Galaxy's Edge opening. And we were just hanging out by him on the main stage. And he just sat there with a parasol and just chatted with my wife and I for like 20 minutes. We were the first ones there, wanting to meet him. And he was just the kindest person, and he didn't have to be. He could have just simply just stood off on stage and not really worried about anybody, just kind of hang out before his cue time. But he decided to just spend some time talking with us, and he was just the nicest individual. So very cool indeed. But it's great to see him, and what a great little show for kids, especially great way to get kids into Star Wars. Anyway, gang, what have you been watching? Oh, there's one more thing I needed to say. I'm a huge fan of music YouTubers, and I listen and I watch YouTubers like Professor Rock, for example. It basically has little short documentaries about songs and about bands and why they're great or why they're, kind of underrated. And of course, his channel recently has got under a lot of fire by labels, much like Rick Beato. If you're familiar with Rick Beato's content, a lot of these creators, they use fair use, and we do the same thing in our podcast. If we use a song or a clip of a song, we'll usually play 5 seconds of the song to try to avoid getting pinged by copyright or any kind of rights holders for the song, because we'll end up talking about this person's career or breaking it down. And by use of fair use law, you can use X amount of a short amount of time to explain a song, and basically they get pinged for all the content they put on there, and they use fair use, but the record labels always win. It's up to you to fight them on it, when it should be in reverse, in my opinion. And I'm in the music industry. If you claim fair use, then it should be on the person making the claim against you. But these creators get pinged, and they are monetizing and taking away the streams of revenue for these creators who put in a lot of time dedicated to promoting the art of music. And I think it's wrong. And they're shutting these YouTubers down and removing revenue streams in a very, very bad way. And I think it sets a wrong precedent for people that are simply trying to educate and spread the word of music and how it's made and what makes a good song, and the retrospectives of these careers of these great bands and musicians. And so a bunch of them got together and are trying to fight all this stuff, with lawyers and things like that. And I think they'll end up winning. I think it's a shame. And shame for the music industry and labels for doing this to these creators who are simply trying to help you sell records. So that's all I have to say about that.
Okay.
All right, gang. It's time now for
Skull Rock Podcast. This week in Disney and pop culture.
All right, Dave. Before we get into the box office news, let's just get this out of the way. Dave, have you seen Walt's animatronic?
Listen, I've seen this blow up on social media, and I've seen the photo of Walt's head on the audio animatronic, along with photos of Stalin and John Ratzenberger and like Walter Cronkite. I mean, it's just been going on and on. I think they made a mistake doing an early showing to bloggers and influencers ahead of the. I think this was such a special attraction. They should have just done an opening day for the attraction and not have done previews, because I think there was just a lot of blowback on how the audio animatronic looks.
Yes. Well, just to give a little bit of information for the uninitiated, of course, this week, Walt Disney Magical Life debuts over at Disneyland with the first ever Walt Disney audio animatronic at Disneyland. This attraction will also have a new virtual queue in there as well. I know people have been flocking to see this. You've seen a lot of posts, as Dave mentioned, about it. It depends really, because, we love the Disneyland Opera House, with Mr. Lincoln and Magic Moments with Mr. Lincoln, which I love. I love watching it whenever I'm there. But I have to say the animatronic is very lifelike. I think it's lifelike. I mean, I know that some of your Disney Imagineer friends and animators, Dave, in your circle may have different opinions about it because what's really blowing me away is the fact that he's got the full range of motion as he stands up and down from his desk. And this is the same type of desk and seating kind of visual that you would see in what was that? Help me out, Dave. The Disneyland TV show. I'm trying to remember that. now my Disneyland credit is going downhill. But when he was talking about Epcot, for example, and he's got his little room in his little office, and he's talking about all these different things. He's got the gray suit, and he's got the tie and everything, and so those images, as you mentioned, get popped up. I think it looks good in certain distances, especially as you look from an audience perspective. It looks fine if you're looking, far away, but when you look up close, maybe not so much in different ways. So,
I talked to somebody this week who has seen it several times, and they said to me, "It's not that bad." Mm-hmm. Well, that to me is like a big question mark. What do you mean it's not that bad? Like, shouldn't it be spectacular?
Yes.
They kind of use the analogy that depending, some of the images that showed up on online on social media, were they likened them to in-betweens. So if you had a master animator draw poses that look fantastic, and then the in-betweens to go from one pose to the other don't look that great, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, but I sort of was like, come on. You're sitting there saying it's not that bad, so you're saying it's bad, but it's not that bad. So we're talking degrees of horrible here. The thing I'm going to say about it is when I look at the images, and that's all I have to go by, is that the shape of the audio animatronics Walt head is round. And if you look at photos of Walt, he has more of an oval face.
Yes.
He's got a higher forehead. The hair is combed slightly different from, when you compare photos of Walt to the audio animatronic. The nose doesn't seem right. So you can, the eyebrows, you could go on and pick this apart if you want to. I would just sit there and say, if you're going to do an audio animatronic of the founder, you really should put all the effort in to make it right and not try and repurpose an audio animatronic skeleton from the Hall of Presidents or, just build a new one from the Hall of Presidents. I think you had to redesign the head mechanism to accommodate the shape of Walt's head. That's my feeling on this, right? Yeah. So, and look, I'm only going by what I'm seeing in the way of images and videos online. Okay. Yes. And I just think you could do better. And knowing the company the way I know it from the inside, there were definitely financial guardrails put in on this, where they probably were constrained with how much money they could spend. But this is an instance where you should spend whatever you have to spend to make it great. Right? That's all. You spend what you have to spend to make it great. And that's not the way the company is working anymore. There's gates that these show directors and producers have to go through to justify expenses and things like that. And it's unfortunate, because the amount of blowback that's happening on this audio animatronic is just really surprising. I saw more about this audio animatronic online on social media platforms than I did about the celebration of Disneyland's 70th anniversary.
That's it. That's what
all
we're
I
getting
have
at.
to say.
That's what we're getting at. When you spend, I don't even know what to say, because they've had a hit and miss, in my opinion, regarding animatronics recently. a big hit was Rocket from the Guardians ride. I think Rocket looks really good. A miss would be the likeness of Donald Trump in all the presidents, because it doesn't look anything like him. And then, of course, with Walt, so it's like, I don't know. It just, with all the reference of these people, you'd think you'd be able to get it right. Especially Walt, for heaven's sake. And of course I see the video that Disney put out as well, and then they have some of the top tier Imagineers, legacy Imagineers out there touting this stuff. I'm not even going to go into their names because you know who they are, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, they didn't. I understand you're handcuffed, with budgets, but my gosh, that's all you had to do is you have one job.
Look, I just think this is a case of the emperor's wearing no clothes, and there's a bunch of people saying how great something is, and it's really not, because it really doesn't look as good as it should, and as close to the way Walt looked. It just doesn't. No. And that's all I can say. And there'll be 5 or 6 people that I'll hear from at some point in the next few weeks who are going to say, but, Dave, it was this and it was that. And, we were constrained by this. So it'll just be a series of excuses as to why it looks the way it looks. And it's unfortunate, I'm going to be the person that says, no, the emperor's not wearing any clothes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate. All right, Dave, what is not unfortunate is the box office. They're coming out in droves to see Superman. It crosses the $200 million mark domestically, targeting a $56 million and $57 million weekend, number 2. It's doing really well, Dave.
Yes.
Even, and despite its mixed reviews, and I understand I've got people that are fans that are not necessarily filmmakers. I've got filmmakers that are friends that have seen it and stuff. So the reviews are mixed, but I'm glad it's doing well because it just means that people are coming to the theaters. And also, I Know What You Did Last Summer is out. Smurfs is out as well. But, of course, nothing matches Superman at this time. So that's great.
Yeah, but it's crossing 400 million globally this weekend. And also, by the way, Lilo and Stitch, the live-action version, has crossed $1 billion.
So congratulations to Disney, finally. Doing something great with Lilo and Stitch. I'm looking for, I still have yet to see it, Dave. And I love that era of Disney filmmaking anyway. And so I go into it with a little trepidation. You've seen the film, right? So you've seen Lilo?
No? I have not seen it. I'm actually going to watch it on Disney Plus when it comes on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I have some trepidation because I really like the original story of Lilo and Stitch. My wife and I are foster parents moving into, have adopted our children. So the subject matter is very important to me. So from what I've heard, I'm very cautious about watching it. But anyway, I do look forward to seeing I Know What You Did Last Summer because I'm a big fan of the horror genre, as you mentioned before. And, of course, Smurfs is interesting as well. Looking forward to seeing how all that pans out. Now, next week, if I'm not mistaken, Dave, Fantastic Four First Steps will be hitting the theater. So
absolutely,
I cannot wait. And the reviews for Fantastic Four have been really good as of late. I've seen it. They've previewed it, the entire film, not just test screenings, but full screenings. And everybody says the film is fantastic. It's living up to the hype. So I hope Marvel has kind of fixed its course there.
I've loved the trailers, and I love that mid-century look of the Fantastic Four, the color palette, the production design. It's just absolutely visually, it's very appealing to me. So I'm looking forward to seeing it.
I can't wait. Just because I'm a fan of the Silver Age of Marvel Comics. And I love that, as you said, the mid-century modern look of it all and the futurism kind of put in there. So it's kind of like the Jetsons meets Marvel Comics. I can't wait to check it out. Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne will be making you laugh out loud in Platonic Season 2. Dave, you're a big fan. Have you seen this? Have you seen this show?
I watched season 1. I thought it was a terrific show. It was funny, smart, and I'm looking forward to season 2. The trailer is hilarious, and I highly recommend this show. If you haven't seen season 1, check it out.
Seth Rogen is funny.
And I think that's on Apple?
Yeah, it's on Apple TV Plus.
It's Apple TV Plus.
So it's
Apple Plus.
The Apple Plus, yeah. So co-creating and co-written by Nicola Stroller and Francesca Del Banico, Platonic Season 2 picks up with the besties as they contend with the new midlife hurdles, including work, weddings, and partners in crises. The duo tries their best to be each other's rock, but sometimes the rock breaks things. And that's a really great synopsis. So it looks like there are 10 episodes that will be released in August. So very, very cool stuff. Brand new stuff from ABC News. What You Need to Know, starring James Longman and Rachel Scott. So this is a brand new daily show that's exclusively on Disney Plus, premiering on Monday. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. It's ABC News' first original daily program created for Disney Plus and will be anchored by the chief international correspondent James Longman and senior political correspondent Rachel Scott. And I think this is great because, people have these streaming services, but they may not watch a whole lot of news. I'm completely opposite of that. I watch news all the time and consume it on a daily basis on the podcast on the way to work. So, but I applaud them for actually trying something new in a very condensed kind of news magazine format for Disney Plus.
Well, this is, you know what this is? This is the blending of linear TV with streaming TV.
Yes, 100%.
And linear TV, and we're going to talk about the next story in a moment, but linear TV is a slow decline. Mm-hmm. The advertising dollars that linear television used to have is no longer there. It's diminishing, and that is creating big changes. So I absolutely agree that in the future, we're going to be watching a streaming service that will have daily shows that are, pre-recorded, like news magazines and things that give you up-to-date news. Mm-hmm. And maybe go so far as when there's a major event that happens in the country or globally where they're live and they're broadcasting live as things are unfolding. I think you'll start to see that showing up as well on these streamers.
100%. Leaning into it, Dave, Colbert's done with the Late Show as CBS pulls the plug. This is his last year. His contract will not be renewed, according to Hollywood Reporter.
May 26th is when the show ends.
Absolutely. So, of course, it's also an end of an era because Late Show was in the same theater as the Ed Sullivan Theater. And, of course, Dave Letterman had had the reins of the Late Show for many, many decades. And it's kind of a warning sign of what's to come. Diminishing watchers, diminishing ratings. Of course, there's a whole list of things that could possibly have led to the decline of the show. But there's no viewers, as you mentioned. The advertising dollars are not happening for TV right now.
Yeah, in fact, I listened to a commentary from a TV analyst. Mm-hmm. And they were saying that the Colbert Show at CBS, the advertising dollars that normally support a show like that mm-hmm. had diminished to the point where the advertising was not covering the cost of the show. Mm-hmm. Right. So then it becomes it's a vanity thing. And obviously CBS is part of Paramount, and Paramount's in the middle of being sold to Skydance and David Ellison. And I think that they've been doing layoffs periodically over the last year at Paramount and CBS. They've been reorganizing stuff. There's been obviously the lawsuits that they recently settled with 60 Minutes. Mm-hmm. So, my sense is that this is really a cost-cutting move, but also there's an edge of politics here because Stephen Colbert was very critical of the Trump administration, and certainly I think that they're probably doing this not just financially but politically, so that they can get this acquisition approved by the current administration.
Yeah, could very well be.
I mean, there's billions and billions of dollars at stake. So, I think Stephen Colbert, was likely partly a sacrificial lamb.
Well, that definitely has that optic. The other thing too, though, is if the ratings were doing great, then it would be a non-issue, right? I mean,
well, if there were enough people watching it to command advertising dollars that would cover the show and give a profit, it would be a different story.
That's right.
But based on what I had listened to from somebody who was in the know, they said the advertising dollars were not enough to even cover the cost of doing the show every night. So there you have it.
Well,
I mean, they canceled it, and it's going to be interesting to see what other other networks do with their late night. I mean, as you mentioned earlier in the show, Jimmy Fallon is already doing other things where he's on other platforms. It's not just on the network.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And then you got Jimmy Kimmel over at ABC. And again, they're saying that the Gen Xers just aren't watching late night television the way, millennials and boomers were.
Well, first of all, TV habits have changed. So there's no appointment programming for one,
right.
Except for live sports. And then you take in consideration everybody's, I say a grand part of the viewing audience has moved to streamers. Yeah. So there is no revenue that's being generated there. Why do you think Netflix and all these other, streamer platforms are charging a premium for their product and having advertisement to subsidize their product? Because that's where the eyeballs are. So,
right.
As you say, terrestrial TV or linear TV is moving by the wayside, and unfortunately, hey, look, we've seen the decline over the past few years. There's no late night bands anymore. There's there's maybe Jimmy Fallon, who's got his band because they've decided that they're going to do their show for taking the completely opposite. Instead of doing a show for the viewing audience of TV, the linear TV, they're doing it to do viral moments that speak to YouTube. And so that's how they're monetizing the content, is YouTube first, linear TV second. So that they've flopped the formula. And I think that's why the show remains on the air and successful to a certain degree. And TV the network wants to make cheaper programming. And late night TV is not cheap.
No.
So we'll see how that rolls out in the future. More Disney news. We've got Hoppers, the teaser trailer. It is new from Disney Pixar, and it arrives in theaters March 6th of 2026. Looks very interesting, Dave. What do you say about Hoppers? Can you tell us a little bit about what this is all about?
I watched the trailer for this. Look funny, and again, it's an original project, and it puts a kid's brain into a little audio animatronic animal and puts him out into nature.
It looks really interesting.
And chaos ensues. So I laughed at the trailer. I thought it was funny. It's got a typical Pixar look to it. It's very well done. The animation looks terrific. So it'll be interesting to see it. I look forward to it coming to the theaters. It's a film I think I'd like to see in a theater.
It looks really cute. I mean, what is that thing? It's like a little hedgehog. What is it? I don't know what it is.
I mean, the trailer's hilarious.
It is funny. I mean, I can see a little beaver or something like that. It's like this little animal is so cute and cuddly, and I could see, our kids, and even the bear is cute and cuddly. It's so round. And that's what you love about that. You just want to squish them and you want to buy the stuffies for the kids because they'll love it. Another trailer.
I would definitely say, put the link to the trailer in our show notes, because I think people will enjoy watching this.
Well, nothing says family entertainment like a bunch of squishy animals, right?
There you go.
And speaking of family entertainment, Disney's entering the grid once again with Tron Ares. A new trailer was just released, Dave. I talked about a preview to this a couple of weeks back, but they're going back into it for Tron. Do you think they'll be able to do it right this time?
Oh my gosh, I love this latest trailer. I had seen the previous trailer, the teaser that they had put out, and I loved the look of it, but I didn't really feel like I got enough out of it. This trailer, you really get a sense of what's going on. It's absolutely terrific, and it's great seeing Jeff Bridges back.
Okay,
he was in the original.
I was gonna say. So once again, let's just read the boiler. Tron Ares follows a highly sophisticated program, Ares, who was sent from the digital world into the real world on a dangerous mission, marking humankind's first encounter with AI beings. The feature film is directed by Joachim Ronig and stars Jared Leto, Greta Lee, Evan Peters, Hassan Minaj, etc., etc., etc. And then, of course, Dave talks about Jeff Bridges. What? This is interesting. The score is also done by Grammy Award-winning rock band 9 Inch Nails. Not the first time that 9 Inch Nails has worked with Disney, which is wild. Which I love. I love 9 Inch Nails anyway, but it's really, really cool. So check this out. It should be noted that this film is supposed to be arriving in IMAX theaters October 10th. So we're just months away from this. Yeah. Jared Leto looks amazing. Dave, Jeff Bridges.
Yeah. He's back. He's reprising his role. Put the link to this trailer into our show notes because I think this is really a fantastic trailer. People should check this out.
Well, it does look amazing. I will say it looks grand. It looks like they're telling a big adventure, which I love. And AI, this is quite interesting indeed to see all this happening.
And the production values is stellar.
Absolutely. Let's check that out. Well, speaking of dead or alive, Dave, let us go into obituary roll call. We have the last bit of this show. Connie Francis, Where the Boys Are singer and actress, dies at the age of 87. And I know that when I talked to my dad about this, he would oftentimes quote Where the Boys Are. And, once again, just a pop culture icon, Connie Francis.
Absolutely.
What more can I say about it? So please check out Connie Francis and the song Where the Boys Are. Also, there happens to be a film about it as well. One of the most successful female singers in history also had a hit with Who's Sorry Now, Mama and Everybody's Fool, and Stupid Cupid. Check it out. Connie Francis, rest in peace. Now it is time to check out our next installment of Kevin Lima Month. It is Kevin sitting down and talking to us about the latest and greatest, as well as his role. I think we're actually talking about Enchanted this time. Check it out right here. Director Kevin Lima, right here on Skull Rock Podcast.
Hey, let's chat.
Let's chat.
So let's chat now.
Let's chat afterwards. And he said, let's chat again.
Skull Rock Podcast. Interview time.
Well, Aljon, we are back for week 5 with director, story artist, and all-around great guy, Kevin Lima. Kevin, welcome back to the Skull Rock Podcast.
It's good to be back. It's amazing I have 5 episodes worth of life to share.
Oh, for crying out loud, you're going to have at least 6. But you know something? Last week, we ended with you being offered Enchanted, and I kind of said, well, this is a perfect place for us to break. Let's pick it up this week. So you get off. How does that come about? Somebody calls you up and says, "Hey, I want you to direct my movie."
It doesn't quite happen that way.
Step our listeners through this, would you?
Well, this happened, and I'm trying to remember if we talked about it last week. This happened because I was working on an animated movie called The Wild. I was helping them out. Mm-hmm. It was a project that was being animated in Toronto. They were having some story issues. It was animated, but it was being developed and produced by the live action division at Disney.
Okay.
So they thought that they could muscle their way in and make an animated movie.
Because they thought it was easy.
Thought it was easy. If, anybody can do that. And they were having trouble, so they asked me to come in and help. And while I was doing that, or when they were trying to convince me to do it, because I was a little bit on the fence, they said, if you come in, we'll give you a live action movie to develop. And I had done 102 Dalmatians with this same group, which didn't do very well.
Right.
So they kind of like sent me to director jail at Disney because that movie didn't make any money. So this was an opportunity to reconnect with those executives and with Dick Cook, who was the chairman at the time. And so I said, okay, all righty, I'll help you out. And it just so happened at that moment, let's see, what was it? My executive, Doug Short, was working on a project called Enchanted. And he asked if I would read it. And of course, I had my typical reaction, which was, I don't know if I'm right for this movie. It's always my way, unfortunately. And my agent said, are you crazy? If there was ever a movie made for you, it's this movie. Read that. You're going to read it again and you're going to go in and meet. So I said, okay, I'll do it. And so I went in and met with the producers and we hit it off. And I seemed to have a take which was interesting to them. Because I think what they were struggling with, this movie, first of all, this movie had been in development for 9 years.
And let me ask you, was it always intended to be a live action animation combination?
It was, the first draft was written about, like, what if Maria from The Sound of Music had, come to New York, and what would that be like? And the writer and the producer who were working on it, Sunil Purkash and Bill Kelly, kind of took a whole other approach. In their second rewrite, they made it a Disney princess, or a princess, an animated princess who comes to life as a real woman. So after that first draft, it was always part animated, part live action. And it went through a lot of development. It was a big, there was a big bidding war for it. Disney got the project with Barry Josephson and Barry Sonnenfeld involved. They had a deal at Disney, and Sonnenfeld was going to direct it. And then it just got stuck in a loop of development, and Barry Sonnenfeld lost interest. I think Adam Shankman came on at one point, and he developed it for a while, and it just wasn't sitting right with them. And they had written a whole song for the beginning. Alan Menken and Glenn Slater had written a song for the beginning of the movie. And they just kind of put it back into development. They decided not to do it. And I think what they were struggling with is that around this time, Shrek had come out. And Shrek, of course, just, doesn't pull any punches and makes fun of the Disney empire in big ways, right? So, and Shrek's kind of snarky and has an attitude about it. And they felt like, as they were developing that, it was always just going to be just a poor man's Shrek. It's going to look like they were copying Shrek. And when I came in, I said, hey, I think if you want me to do this, my take is that this is a love letter to Disney. Let's take a sincere approach. Let's say we love this material so much, we're just going to embrace it. And we went on we started to develop it in that realm.
And that's what got traction.
It did. With there was always a little bit of reluctance from the executive group. It's really
aren't the executives there to be reluctant, to be the
their job is to say no, right?
Isn't it? Yeah.
So I think what they were afraid of is that it was so sincere, and I think it's really hard for that group to take on put that forward, right? To wear that.
Mm.
They're afraid of that. They're always a pretty cynical group, so that was a tough sell to them. And there was a marketing exec there at the time who didn't like the movie at all, and he didn't think it had any way of being successful, especially because it's a film that's very feminine, right? It's for girls,
right?
Really, right? It's aimed right at that market. It's a princess movie,
yeah,
right? So he was trying to kill it throughout the entire development process.
How did that make you feel when there's an executive, every time you see him, he's trying to kill your movie?
Well, they're all very nice to your face.
Of course they are.
Because if you do make the movie and it makes a lot of money, then you know they have to be on your side. They've come out on the winning side.
Yeah.
But no, it was always a struggle. But I'll tell you one person who was always on my side, and that was Dick Cook.
Yeah, Dick is a great guy.
Dick loves Disney.
I mean, yeah,
right? It's in his bones.
Yeah, he was a real Disney fan.
He grew up there. He started in the mailroom.
Yeah,
worked his way up, and so he was absolutely a supporter during this whole time. In any time, and I had a direct route to Dick, which I think also pissed some people off, right? Because they couldn't play in between. And this will show up later, in the tale of Enchanted. So I had a direct route. And so when we were doing things like casting and the executives didn't want Amy Adams, I went to Dick Cook and said, you have to see this tape. This audition is incredible. But they were afraid, right? They wanted someone who had some star power. And I just said to Dick, I said, this is our Julie Andrews. This is our Mary Poppins. This is a chance to have the character speak first to the audience, and then the world discovers who this actress is.
And that's exactly what happened. I mean, she became.
She had
huge.
done, to be quite honest, she had shot Junebug, which she later got a nomination for.
Yeah.
But when we hired her, she hadn't, none of that had happened yet. Junebug hadn't been released.
Right.
We actually got to see a very early cut of the movie. So I just had to go to bat. I had to beg. And, we made a deal that if I wanted Amy, that I had to hire a male lead who had some juice out there in the world. And that led to Patrick Dempsey.
Mm-hmm.
And they had great chemistry.
McDreamy.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
McDreamy.
So dreamy, that man. So it was, so it was always a negotiation. Always.
Yeah.
And so.
And just for our listeners to understand, movies get developed, sort of inch by inch, if you will. Uh-huh. And they start to add people to it. There isn't some guy in a suit chomping on a cigar saying, I'm green lighting this,
Those days are long gone,
right.
Dave.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a time gone by.
Yeah. But it's kind of a committee thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you gain momentum.
Yeah.
Right? Your project gains momentum to the point where it's just happening.
Yeah.
And I had to do things like I filled an entire floor of our development. We had like maybe 6 or 7 rooms, and there was a hallway outside. And I filled that hallway with artwork and photographs, actors' photographs, location photographs. And I would take people through it. A lot of artwork that we drew. And I would take people through it and tell them the story, like we do beat boards in animation.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
And I would sell the movie by telling them the movie, tell them the story of the movie. And, that was a great tool. And that's something I grabbed from animation.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
I did a dog and pony show, 2 times daily as people came through. And there was a lot of nervousness about it. But inch by inch, like you said.
So you finally got momentum on the project, and you got Amy Adams, you got Patrick Dempsey on board. how, what happens at that point? Where are you doing? Are you doing table reads with the actors, or do you do any of that kind of stuff?
We did something really interesting on this because it opens in animation.
Yeah.
I was storyboarding the first, I think it ended up being 11 minutes, the first 11 minutes of the movie. So I hired 3 storyboard artists. I brought in a bunch of designers. A lot of my friends from animation got involved. We can talk about them in a minute. And what I did was I did a table read with all the actors who were available at that time, and we recorded it. And I used those table reads to put together reels of the entire movie.
Wow.
I told the studio that I was doing the animated section of the film, but behind everyone's backs, I can talk about this how many years later, right?
Yeah.
20 years later, 25 years later, is that I use that time to dig into my process, right? I knew that from having done a couple of these movies now that I was successful at discovering the movie by boarding the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And there were things that we looked at and we said, and they were rough reels, like really rough.
Yeah.
But it gave me an idea of where we were at, what we didn't need, what we needed. We'd add a scene, we'd take some stuff out. And I didn't show it to my executives. And part of that was at the advice of my producer, Barry Josephson, because he was afraid that if they saw these really rough reels, they would shit can the movie.
Okay.
They would get scared.
Yeah.
And they probably would have, right? Because these reels were like work in progress for me to get a jump start before filming.
Yeah.
So,
but Barry had seen them.
I said, Barry, these things exist. Here, come and look at, 20 minutes of it so you get a sense of what it is. But he knew what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was okay with it.
He was nervous about them. He was okay with me doing them.
He was okay, though, seeing them and having you do them, but he was nervous about anyone else seeing them.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So he was, and I think that was smart. That was really smart of us not to put them in front of them. So at this point, everything's coming together. Amy, I did an audition with Amy. I had like 104 temperature at the time.
Wow.
And I didn't want to miss this. And I lied to everybody and I said I had 101 temperature, and I went to the audition. And it was supposed to be 5-minute auditions. And for the next 20 minutes, I forgot that I was sick. And that's how I knew that this was the one.
Yeah.
This was the girl.
And she came in, I take it, with a lot of energy.
She came in understanding what it was to be an animated princess.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? So she came in and we talked about physicalization, and I put my pinkies up in my interview for the movie. I talked about the movie with the producers, and I started like talking about her, and I had my little pinkies up, and I was talking about the transition of her from a princess to becoming a real woman, where her hands would move to her sides. And so I talked about all this with Amy, and she got it immediately. We did another take, and she totally physicalized the character. She just understood it.
Was she a fan of animation?
I think so. She was a real musical theater actress to begin with. So she had that in her bones.
She had seen The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast. Yeah. Okay.
She grew up on all of that.
Yeah.
And we did voice sessions. We did real voice sessions for the animated sections of the movie. We put together full reels of those. We did show those to the executives. We just started moving forward. We did costume tests because I wanted to shoot live action reference of the actors for whoever was going to do the animation. We hadn't settled yet on who was going to do it.
Yeah.
And so we shot live action reference. We had mock-up dresses. We had a mock-up dress for Amy, her wedding dress from the movie. and we shot live action reference. I even stood in and acted, Timothy Spall's role in those little pieces, because I wanted to create one character between two mediums.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that was really important to me. Is how do we get this sense of animated characters come to life, that they're one character, there's not a break between the two. So we did that. So all these little pieces are adding up, putting together budgets. We have to cut the movie down because the budget's too high. So we're doing script revisions. We're doing all of these things to try to get us to a start date. And we just kept rolling along till, as they say, the studio is so pregnant, they have to make the movie.
Yeah. And when you got to that point, what was the schedule going to be?
Trying to remember. I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was 45 days.
So 45 shooting days.
Yeah.
I mean, and just for our listeners, that's not 45 straight days.
It's not. You break for weekends.
Right. I just wanted to clarify that, because some people, some of our listeners are new to the world and the mechanics of it, Yeah. But when you say 45 shooting days, it's 5 days a week.
It is. It's a job.
But it's 5 long days because you're typically doing overtime.
They're 12-hour days plus overtime. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And there were lots of night days that we shot. We shot in Central and Times Square at night, so we had to close off Times Square a couple of times.
And when you do that, when you say it's a night day shoot, right?
Yeah.
Right. So you're saying the crew, everybody's working. They're starting at like 11 o'clock at night and working till 7 in the morning or whatever.
Yeah, we're shooting.
That is.
Yeah, we're shooting from sundown. Really, is what happens.
Okay.
Is that whatever time the sun goes down that day, that's when you start, and sunrise is when you stop.
And when you're shooting in Times Square, are you shooting on the weekends because there's less traffic, or how does that work?
I don't remember what days they were. I don't remember what day of the week it was, but we did close down and controlled all the traffic in Times Square.
Wow.
Right? So we had to plan which streets we needed to close during which times.
Yeah.
We were doing things like we drive a bus into Times Square with James Marsden on the roof, standing on the roof of the bus.
Sure.
And you get one take, and then you'd have to wait a half hour for the bus to go all the way around the block and come back for take two.
To set it up for the
to reset the shot.
Wow.
So there was that. And I was told that never happens. That closing down Times Square is impossible, that nobody ever does it.
Really?
Yeah. And we were shooting one night in Times Square on 42nd Street, actually, with Susan Sarandon. And the crowds became so unruly that they had to close, the police closed us down.
Wow.
So we only shot a couple of hours before the police closed us down.
Wow.
And Susan was convinced it was because the NYPD hated her for her outspoken.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Being so outspoken about the department. So when they found out it was her, they closed it down. That's what she said.
Well, I having grown up in New York and know a lot of New York police officers, NYPD guys. I honestly, I think there could be a couple of crumbs of truth to it.
So there was a whole section of the movie that we cut from the film because we got shut down that day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
now, on the other days, did you have lots of people sort of, behind barricades watching?
Oh, yeah, always.
Yeah.
Always. Whenever we were, in Central Park, especially when Patrick Dempsey was with us.
Yeah.
There were just crowds of screaming women.
And they were constantly screaming even when you were shooting?
They were screaming, and we at one point asked Patrick to go over and ask them to please keep it down.
And?
That we're trying to shoot. And they did. They did. So he gave them 5 minutes of his time, and they were, they gave back. So
that's very nice of him, and of them as well.
I think there was a part of him that really liked that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So we moved to New York. The whole thing was shot in New York.
Did you do all your interiors?
We did.
Where were you on
We're
the
at
interior? Steiner Studios.
Steiner Studios in Brooklyn.
It's either Brooklyn or Queens.
I think it's Brooklyn.
I think you're right. It's probably Brooklyn. Because you got the Silver Cup Studios, you got the Kaufman Studios, which is the original Paramount, which also used to be the Army pictorial stages, where the U.S. Army made training films.
I had no idea.
Believe it or not. And the reason why I know that, Kevin, is because my mother and father met at the Army Pictorial Center in the mid-'50s. That's where they met.
That's crazy.
I know it is kind of nuts.
And here you are in the movie business.
I know it's nuts. So anyway, but so you did all your interiors at Steiner Studios.
We did.
And what was the the exterior? You said you had 45 shooting days. The exterior, how many days roughly, if you could even remember? I mean,
maybe I should have done more research.
Well, no, that's okay. But I mean, I'm just kind of trying to get a handle on whether there was more shooting on interiors than there were exteriors.
We were on the streets a lot.
Yeah.
I would say maybe 50-50.
Okay.
Guessing.
Right. Yeah.
I'm guessing we were, we were all over the city. We were on the Brooklyn Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
We were on, we were down by, what's the tunnel that goes out to New Jersey?
So that would have been the Lincoln.
Out by the tunnel there. We were out there.
It's either the Lincoln or the Holland. Well, I think it's the Lincoln Tunnel.
I think it's the Lincoln Tunnel.
Yeah, it's a Lincoln Tunnel.
So we were out there. We were everywhere. We were down in Soho. We were just all around.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah,
that must have been
that was great fun.
Yeah,
it was great fun.
I mean, clearly you have more control when you're shooting interiors on stages because you don't have to deal with the crowds and a plane flying over.
Or weather, right?
Weather. Yeah.
We had a lot of weather problems in Central Park.
Yeah.
We got rain. Actually, part of the movie shot in a light drizzle, but you can't even see it.
Wow.
In the film, the rain doesn't pick up.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we spent how many days? 16 days in Central Park on that one song in the surrounding scenes.
Okay.
And I'm really questioning my 45-day answer there. It might have been more than that.
Okay. Well, you know what? I'm not going to hold you to it, but I'm sure some of the fans who are listening will hold you to it.
They probably know better than I do. There's this little scratch in the back of my head that says, no, it was 70 days. It was 72 days. But that might have been how much the movie cost.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm getting all
that's all right.
Anyway,
that's all right. But I think what is also fascinating, and I think our listeners would like to know, is that when you shoot a movie, you're not really shooting the movie in sequence. From beginning to end. If you had a couple of shots in Central Park at the beginning of a movie, and then you have the big song sequence later in the movie, you're shooting all of that stuff together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Yeah,
absolutely. So all the stuff with James Marsden and Timothy Spall looking for Giselle, that's all shot in the same time we're shooting walk and talks in the park between Patrick Dempsey and Amy. On both ends of that song, there's scene work. We're doing all. Yeah.
Right. And so once you were done shooting the movie, actually, before I even ask that question, I do want to ask you, what's the craziest thing you remember from the shooting? Like the craziest thing that happened, or the funniest thing? I mean, there's usually some sort of, out of left field thing that happens when you're doing these types of projects?
Oh boy.
And maybe you had multiples, you know?
Trying to think if there was anything that was totally out of left field. I mean, I had a lot of fun making this movie. This was like it really was the perfect film for me because I love animation. So it was a way for me to pay homage.
And did you have a lot? Did you have a lot of your crew from 102 Dalmatians? Did
no,
bring
totally
a lot of
new.
People? It was just all new people.
All new people.
Yeah, new assistant directors and all
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah. Everyone was new. New DP. New designers, because we were in New York, right? You want to work with local folks. I actually the one thing that and this isn't during shooting, but this comes to mind because we haven't talked about Alan Menken yet and Steven Schwartz. So I'll tell you the funny little bit first. And we're writing True Love's Kiss, and we're going back and forth with a bunch of different versions. Alan has a version that he likes, Steven has a version that he likes, I have a version that I like best. And, we're digging deep into Snow White for the inspiration for this song. And so it's decided, since we can't come to any, common ground, that I'm going to go to New York and I'm going to sit with Alan and Steven. They both live in Connecticut, and we're going to hammer this thing out. So I go over there and we talk about it. We're there's another version coming together, and Alan says, give me 20 minutes. Steven, because Steven is he wants to be, he's a composer as well, right? So he has music ideas. And Alan just says, give me 20 minutes, go out into go for a walk, basically. And we go out into the main, he's got a little compound there that has a studio and a kitchen and some other rooms. And there's a piano in the middle of the main room. And Alan's in his little room writing away, and you can hear a little bit of what he's doing. And Steven gets on the piano and starts playing what he wants it to be. Alan opens the door and screams at Steven, says, will you stop it? Alan goes back. Steven starts playing the piano again. Alan gets so furious that he runs out, tackles Steven, throws him to the ground, pulls him off of the piano, throws him at the ground, and is screaming at him to stop. Stands up, brushes himself off, and just goes back to work. And I'm just sitting there cracking up.
And by the way, our listeners should know, Alan Menken is one of the nicest guys in the business, isn't he? I mean, honestly, he's one of the nicest guys.
Right? You know? So is Steven. But they're two artists with points of view.
That's great.
And it just goes to show that behind the scenes, it seems like there's always a little bit of this give and take and this
the creative tension.
Yeah. And I think at Disney Feature Animation, sometimes I think Peter even said this to me, that good movies don't come from happy sets.
Yeah.
So they almost encouraged it a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? They let it happen.
Yeah.
So, it was all good. And I wanted Steven and Alan to come together because I knew that they had already done Pocahontas.
Right.
And Hunchback. And you get two incredible artists, in the room together, something remarkable is going to happen.
Yeah.
So.
And it did.
Yeah, it really did. It really did.
And so,
quite wonderful.
So the song came together with both of them liking it.
Yeah. I think they were both really happy with it.
And of course, you were happy.
Yeah. I'm a huge musical fan. I even in my years when I was at Disney, I was part of the Lehman Ingle Musical Theater Workshop. Right. So I was writing lyrics, and I wrote a book to a musical with a couple of other collaborators. So this was like right in my wheelhouse. Absolutely. So, we worked on this, on the script, and most of the songs, I can tell you when the script was first written, there was one song in it, and it was the opening of the movie. It took place in animation. When they came to the real world, there were no songs. And it was one of my contributions to say, hey, why don't we bring Giselle into the real world and she can bring music with her? And so the songs very naturally move from being songs as they exist in animation, right? When she first comes to the world, she sings a song in the real world. And then she brings the real world into her song. And then when we go to the ball, there's a singer on stage. She doesn't sing now. The music leaves her mouth, and there's a singer on stage who sings. And at the end of the movie, it's a needle drop. It's like a voiceover song.
Yeah.
The music goes on the same journey as Giselle in the film. So we use music to support the emotional arc of that character.
Very nice.
So that was a thought from the beginning, and so we were putting titles in the script and what the songs were going to be about. And I think Alan has talked about this a lot, is they were really appreciative to have that kind of guidance from a director, which they typically don't get.
It was sort of a roadmap.
Yeah.
It was a roadmap for them to say, oh, okay, this is what the director is thinking.
Right.
You know, as opposed to them just working in a vacuum.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
So that was a real fruitful experience. So it all, there was lots of fun. There was lots of hard work. We're running around the middle of, Amy's running through Times Square with cars smashing all around her. There are days like that are totally fun but incredibly dangerous.
Sure.
I get accused.
But those kinds of things are very well choreographed.
They are, within an inch of their life. And in fact, one of the things that happened on that day, Amy, I'm an animation director. I was a puppeteer. So, I have a tendency to want to have some control over what happens every day. And she accused me of that. And so this first day, the first day of shooting was in Times Square with her coming out of the manhole.
Okay.
And running through all this traffic. And I was saying, we're going to do this. You're going to move here. You're going to run here. You have to follow this path. And she got quite upset with me because I was what they call in live action marionetting the actors.
Got it.
And she didn't feel like I was giving her enough room. And I learned to grow a lot on this movie to how to work with actors in a way that wasn't so. I don't think I'm suffocating, but I do have a real strong idea.
You have a vision.
What I want it to be.
Yeah.
So she was upset with me, and I was like, Amy, you have to run this path. If you don't, you will get hit by a car. You don't have a choice. So she ran the path, and we had some good conversations about it.
Yeah.
About how to, what she needed from me as a director. And it's on this movie where I recognized, each actor needs something totally different from me. Right? Each actor comes at their role from a different place. Especially Amy and Patrick, they were two different animals when it came to how they worked. And so I had to figure out how to maneuver that landscape.
Yeah.
So,
and was that difficult?
Only that it was a learning experience. It wasn't difficult once I figured it out.
So you were on a learning curve for a certain number of shooting days before you got into
Yeah,
a groove.
I think every movie has its learning curve. Every movie you learn something new. And for me, it was like, if you're not constantly learning, and I feel the same way today, if you're not, then go do something else.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
That's what makes it fun. That's what makes it exciting. Every movie's different. Every dynamic is totally different. Figure something else out about yourself as you're growing. And
yeah. And so once the movie was done, How long were you in editorial for?
I think we were probably 4 months, 4 to 6 months.
And at that, and by the way, at that point, you have a release date. You know what you're shooting
Yeah,
for?
we have a release date. We know what we're heading towards. We did all the editorial up here in San Francisco. I live in the Bay Area.
Mm-hmm.
And so we took over a building in the Presidio over by the Walt Disney Family Museum.
Yeah.
There was a Walt Disney Family Museum.
Is there a production facility there?
No.
Oh, you just
took over.
You rented a building and brought the
We
equipment
rented a building. It was the old psych ward. And actually, there was a door that we broke into at one point, and it was all the blast showers.
Oh, God.
The psych ward. It was a little weird.
Wow.
So we did all of that in San Francisco.
Okay.
I did on set. I'm trying to think of all the things that happened. I had a little stuffed chipmunk, and I would act out the scenes with the actors with this little stuffed chipmunk, and I would do all the, and I'd jump around so that they could get eye lines so they knew what was going on. And then we would take the chipmunk out, and I would then do the dialogue off screen, and I would say, he jumps on the cup. He points to the left. So the actors were all acting against nothing with me just doing sounds and acting off screen. And so
and by the way, that is a skill that good actors can pull it off.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I learned this from, I think, behind the scenes footage of Roger Rabbit.
Yeah. With Bob
That's where
Hoskins.
I learned it.
Yeah, Bob Hoskins.
I learned about how Bob had this uncanny ability to focus his eyes at a point in space.
Yes.
In front of him. So it always looked like he was looking at. So I brought that skill to my actors and said, hey, I've learned this from Bob Hoskins and Roger Rabbit, and he does an amazing job at it. And so, they all they all learned how to do it. James Marsden was fantastic at it.
Mm.
He could really focus at like a foot away from himself or 2 feet. He knew how to get us to that place. Because your eyes do cross a little bit, as things get closer to you, your eyes sort of focus in.
Yeah.
So that was.
I was going to say James Marsden does the Sonic movies.
He does.
Yeah, he does an excellent job with that because he really connects with those animated characters who aren't there when they're shooting the live action.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we did things like, when we did the big dragon at the end of the movie, we had a big head on. We built like a foam core, like 3-dimensional head that we had on a huge stick because the thing is like 30 feet tall.
Sure.
So we did that kind of stuff. So people always, had some sort of eye line. So we did that, and then we brought all of that back with us, and I was doing scratch for the chipmunk, just to fill it in, waiting for whoever's going to do it. And we did a screening, as you do. You do your your audience screenings, test screenings, and I just got a lot of laughs. So it just became, okay, Kevin's a chipmunk. We're not gonna screw with this.
That's awesome. Did you have to re-record any of that, or were you just using what was
No,
recorded?
we did it all in the editorial suite.
Okay.
Yeah. So we could use it all on a microphone, a professional microphone in the space. So we did all that. And for the screenings, we did like storyboards. So we cut out the characters and put the storyboard characters in the live action scenes until we had footage that could be, that looked like it was a character. And we use that in a lot of the screenings, in a lot of our test screenings.
Who did the animation?
It was done by James Baxter.
It was James Baxter.
James
Okay,
Baxter.
Yeah.
So Disney no longer had a 2D animation division at the time.
Right.
And they were not interested in pulling together a crew for this.
Right.
And we got incredibly lucky that James had just started his facility.
Yeah.
James Baxter Animation, right? Isn't that what it's called? I think that's what Baxter Animation.
Yeah.
And he was full in. He was full in, and I'll tell you, his work is fantastic.
Oh, it's outstanding, and he also pulled together an incredible crew of people.
Oh, it's just, and a lot of big names worked on it. Andreas Deha worked on it.
Yeah.
A lot of the Evil Queen. So a lot of big animation, 2D animation names.
Yeah.
Came in and worked on it. And so it was, we just got so incredibly lucky that the movie actually looked like a Disney feature animation film, not like a knockoff.
Right. No, I mean, it was a movie that should have been done at Disney, and it was done at Disney. It couldn't have really been pulled off elsewhere.
Right.
I don't think,
Right.
And when you were finally done with it, because we're starting to bump up against time, and I don't want to leave without asking the how was the critical reception, and were you happy with it in comparison to 102 Dalmatians?
No, absolutely. I was thrilled.
Yeah.
I was thrilled. The movie did, it was a darling with critics. The studio didn't expect it to do the business it did. It really...
And it did big business because it was one of the top performing films of that year.
Yeah, it did like $342 million.
Yeah.
So, and they didn't expect it. And in fact, they didn't support it in a way because they didn't think it was going to be huge.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So they tried to sell it to boys. They were so afraid. The advertising, I remember fighting with them, the marketing department, because they were selling it as like in the tradition of Aladdin, Toy Story. Right. And I'm thinking, like, what are you doing? This movie should be sold in the tradition of Snow White, Cinderella, and Sleeping Beauty. Comes the new, But they were so afraid to lose boys.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch we can talk about the end of this movie.
All right. So you know what? I'm going to say at this point, we have to, because we really bumped up against time quickly here. Why don't we just end it here and pick up on that?
It's a release. Okay.
We'll pick up on the release next week. All right. So thank you once again, Kevin, for your time and for being on the Skull Rock podcast. And we'll see you next week.
All righty.
Oh, yes. Skull Rock Podcast is on Patreon. You can help support the show with your monthly contribution and become a friend of the show. Be part of the almighty Skull Rock Podcast crew. Much like friend of the show, Josh Volker. Or you become a producer, an awesome crew member, Steve Munch. Also, Chris Banis. Thank you so much. By supporting the show, you get to make sure that A, you get a shout out on the show, and B, support the show and get this content for free every single week. Now, I tell you, one of the coolest things about being a Patreon crew member is the fact that you get to have ad-free versions of this show. So if you do dig it and you want it, we might even put in some extra, like, behind-the-scenes stuff. We're working on that. So if you enjoy the show, awesome. Be part of the show, be part of the Patreon, and keep this show going. We do appreciate it. Thank you so much for your support and subscribing to Skull Rock Podcast.
Hello, I'm Gunny Napper, United States Marine Corps retired, and you're listening to Skull Rock Podcast.
Skull Rock Podcast, where you hear the stories behind the adventures.
Let's get out of here!
Come on, Scotty, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here, Lieutenant.
All right, Dave, another Kevin Lima interview in the can, and we're just rounding out the end of July. It's hard to believe. We have one more week.
It is hard to believe. Next week, we'll be dropping the final episode of our Kevin Lima interview with part 6. It's just been an incredible Kevin Lima month.
It has, and we absolutely love it, and we're glad that you love it, too. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure, if you just stumbled upon this show, be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to our YouTube page. We would appreciate that as well. Every little bit helps. Share the show. Give us that feedback. Write us those emails, Dave or Aljon at skullrockpodcast.com. Follow us on all of our social medias. We're on X, Facebook, Blue Sky, LinkedIn, Instagram. We're there. Check it out. We also have a little group there on Facebook as well for Skull Rock Podcast. We have a really cool, like little ad-free section too of our Patreon. If you join Patreon, you'll get the show without any commercials. I put them up there for people, so please enjoy that as well and help support the show and whatever we're doing. And answer the poll question for this week. Would you like to see more video? Would you like to see video of Dave and myself and our guests? Please let us know in our poll for this week. Exclusively
I don't know,
on Spotify.
Aljon. We've got faces for radio.
That's what I've been told. I can speak for myself. Anyway, gang, feel free to follow me, Aljon Go, on Instagram. That's the best place to follow me. You can also check out my other podcast there at Dining at Disney. We have a show every week we release. We talk about the Disney parks and, of course, the food, which is so great. We're going to have some upcoming reviews from our trip to Walt Disney World Resort, which is going to be great. Of course, Kat, our correspondent, is talking about the Disneyland food, and she is going to be reviewing some of the Disneyland 70th stuff as well here in the weeks to come. And I will also mention the fact that thank you so much to Sorcerer Radio for helping promote the show at srsounds.com. Dave?
Well, Aljon, I want to let our listeners know I'm doing a Facebook Live event again on Wednesday, this Wednesday, July 23rd at 5 p.m. Pacific time. And I'm going to be with Neil Cantor from The Wonderful World of Animation and animator John Ramirez. And we're going to be celebrating 70 years of Kermit the Frog.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's on Wednesday, July 23rd at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can always catch me on the Tunes Behind the Tunes on Sirius XM, Disney Hits, Channel 133. All during July, we have been featuring the song Baby Mine from Disney's 1941 animated classic, Dumbo. And also, you can always get signed copies of my books from theoldmillpress.com, including my latest book, Find Your Happy Place, the 8-Step Guide to Boosting Your Creativity Through a Personal Retreat, winner of a gold medal at the Fire Book Awards. You can also check out what I'm up to on davidbossert.com. All my books are there. There's a whole bunch of free content for you to read about animation history, all at davidbossert.com. There's also free stuff. Check out the free stuff tab. And with that, Aljon, I will say go out and have a fantastic week. Enjoy the last full week of July. And we will see you back here next Monday, right here on the Skull Rock Podcast.
All right, gang. Guess what time it is? It's time for the Disney Travel Deal. Kristen, what say you?
I mentioned two different ones today. The one I mentioned last week, but I'm going to refresh everybody's mind on that in a minute. But the first one is going to be where you can save up to 20% on select stays at Disneyland Resort hotels. And that's going to be for stays of 3 nights or more. And it's from August 17th through December 19th. So coming up this fall and holiday seasons, you can enjoy Halloween or the holidays there. It's going to be for standard and premium rooms at Disney's Grand California Hotel and Spa, Disneyland Hotel, and the villas at Disneyland Hotel.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Well, those are great places.
Yes. Your travel must be complete by December 20th.
All right. And
so that's the first one I'm going to mention.
Okay.
The next one is going to be, hold on, let me pull it up, is for Walt Disney World. And that's where you can save up to 20% on select rooms this holiday season at Walt Disney World. And it's going to be for most Sunday to Thursday nights from October 12th to November 20th, and then most nights from November 23rd to December 25th. If you choose to upgrade and add on a 4-day or longer theme park ticket, you will get a Walt Disney World Resort dining and shopping promo card, which, depending on which resort you stay at, can be as much as $100. So
very nice.
Yes. So those are my travel deals for today.
I love it. Well, If you want to get that deal, get both deals if you want. If you feel froggy enough, go ahead and jump at it. Kristen, where can people email you to take advantage of that deal or any cruise line deal? There are tremendous deals going on right now, or even Universal theme parks here in the States.
Yes. Enjoy Epic
Universe. Yes.
Yep.
Or can they email you?
They can contact me at Kristen at magicaljourneystravel.com. That is Kristen, Kristen at magicaljourneystravel.com.